Oh, there you are. I am Skeptical Spectrum, and there's going to be something very different about this video. And at the end, I might remember to ask you what it was. So, it's called either Indulgent Social Justice Indulgence, or Easy Social Justice. I'm not sure yet. Roll the credits. This is Skeptical Spectrum. Show person that is nameless created a name because that's what YouTubers do. Hey, welcome back to the social justice video critique thing from Skeptical Spectrum. Easy Social Justice is what I titled it. I might on my little. I won't even tell you. All right, so let me talk about what indulgent social justice is, or social justice indulgence is, or easy social justice is. I cannot think of the right name of this for me, but it's something that I know exists, something that I want to play with and hash out. And it has to do with that thing where I am basically white, as far as everybody knows. I even have blue eyes. And it just always has felt so good to want social justice to happen, to want equality to happen, to want equity to happen, to want to see everybody basically relatively comfortable, not being crapped on, being treated well, not quite utopia, but just close enough utopia. And it pisses me off when I see people suffering. It makes me sad when I see people suffering. And when it's like people making people suffer, I don't like it, right? So that's about me, right? And I like it when it stops, and I like it when I think I did something that makes it stop, and I like it when I seem like I'm being a good ally, justice ally to different people that are marginalized and all that. It's a drive I have. It's a personality I have. I learned it as a kid. Growing up in the 70s, not everybody has the same attitude in my family about it. And there's just so much complexity, and there's so much chance for hypocrisy, because maybe that's part of just being a person. So I love hearing MLK speak. Right? Oh my God, he said it. It's all said and done. It feels good. Life is better. Right? It's a lazy way to think about it. Nowadays, I think about it and say MLK spoke, and look, and it's, things still need to be done. I love watching those social justice movies like, I'm going to start with the black lawyer and the white lawyer. You got the black lawyer who comes in and he's brave, and he goes to a place where you shouldn't even be safe being black, maybe, and then you go and you help some prisoner, and some prisoner gets set free, or some tragedy happens at the end. I hate that, I guess, but it's like, but that makes the point, and it get like Antonin Artaud says, it makes you say this must not be, if like it has an unhappy ending. There's the one with the white lawyer too, where you got Matt McConaughey coming in, and he's going to help a guy, and he's going to talk like this, and he's handsome as hell, and they get um, great. I think it was Morgan Freeman. Was no, no, no. It was Samuel L. Jackson. Brilliant movies. I don't think there can be a flaw with them, except for the fact that they're are, and I don't know if that is a human thing, but I always hear people criticizing these movies, and they seem to have a point. The feel good aspect of it, the catharsis of it, or something like that. But it does seem to motivate us. At the same time, it seems to make us think we've already done a good enough job, basically, by watching the movie and agreeing with it. I think it's a form of positive brainwashing. You're trying to get your head more accustomed to doing things that are for people that are not like you. But there's something about the movies that just makes it too safe. But again, that's how you teach people. Reading books is different than arguing with people or talking to people, right? So reading books, you could say put some distance, but at the same time, we also say that reading books is like one of the best things human beings can ever do. So I admitting I'm white to look self-aware. That's the next step I'm going to talk about because I kind of mentioned it at the beginning. I mentioned it with the white lawyer and black lawyer. And this idea that I know I've had a life that should not be considered privileged, it should be common to all people. I've had very bad things happen, and I've been treated very poorly by many people. And that maybe gives me a sense of I don't want to see this happen to anybody else, and I damn well don't want to see it happen to me anymore. But that makes it hard for me to know if I should jump in and help people. At what risk level am I willing to jump in to help people who definitely need help? Can I give up all my money so that I can go help get innocent people out of jail? If I give up all my money, will I have the ability to go and get innocent people out of jail? Right? So it's confusing in my view. And then I get into my personal ethnic details to clear up this whole white thing where I start to mention that I'm Puerto Rican, that means I'm Iberian, that means I'm Spanish, probably Italian. It means that I'm African, sub-Saharan, different kinds of African sub-Saharan. It means that I'm Native American, Caribbean. And then it means like I'm all kinds of crap because you know how people like to screw like rabbits, you know. So I'm a mix, but I'm not. This is a detail I throw in. I got picked on for not knowing English when I came back from Puerto Rico at age like 6. Like, what? How did that? That's just how does what does 6-year-olds do? 6-year-olds even know how to talk, right? So anyway, definitely got beat up throughout my life, right? Joined the Marines so I could learn to beat up people. Uh, kind of beat up one guy in an argument where he was throwing me around a room. I mentioned that in another video. I'm very autobiographic. I'm very into myself. Admitting it makes it not true. Okay, then the complexity of how many different groups of people have been oppressed in the same ways and in very different ways. And I'll talk about kind of the list that is going to make, you know, people, it's like if you talk about, by the way, woke, woke, anti woke, stupid and bad and undefined. Woke is defined and it's something you can follow. And it's going to make people want to call me woke. Anything I say is going to make people call me woke in a sarcastic way. The complexity of how many people have been oppressed in how many ways. So, right now, I'm just going to say the Ukraine is a funny thing because maybe we invaded Iraq and they're full of dark haired, dark skinned, mostly brown eyed people. And we did that, and it was a horrible thing to do. Although I freaking, you know, protested against that happening. I'm going to do a lot of self-aggrandizement here because I don't know. That's just what I do, baby. But then we go and do it to Ukraine, and we start, you know, another, you know, what do you call it? There comes a time when you heed a certain call, and you tell Putin not to bomb the Ukraine, but you tell the Ukrainians it's okay to bomb the Russians. And actually, I think some Russians don't mind that either because they realize that Putin's an ass. So there's possibility that we're more likely to sympathize with people who are like us. So we're instinctively going to do more social justice efforts or feel more righteous indignation toward shit that happens to people that seem like us. But this video is about something very much different. We also have an instinct to defend people that are different than us. I would even say even some hardcore bigots do it, you know? So the question I'm bringing up is this a self massage? Is this a way to get off? I was going to call this social justice porn, but I typed it in to see like if it's already a title for this kind of conversation. No, but there's actual social justice porn. It's just like I could have clicked one more click and seen I don't know what. So you see where I'm having trouble finding the title. You'll know the title before you see this. So I think it's okay to want us to help Ukraine not get taken back over by freaking Putin. Like, maybe if it was like Brezhnev or Gorbachev or whatever that and they wanted to become back of the part of the Russian group, that's fine, but they don't want to. And they freaking are killing people to get them to say to get the Ukrainians to say, yeah, let's be part of Russia again. So I think it's okay to take Ukraine's side because I'm sincere about it, even if I'm ignorant of everything about it. Meaning that I'm not an expert in all these things and what it could mean. I have good ideas though, and I'm getting smarter. I want to be an ally too for other groups, and that's where I'm going to talk about people of color, LGBTQ plus, and I'm ready for all the pluses. In fact, what do you call it? Asexual. That's not included in there unless you count it in the plus. The freaking youth of America, the next generation. I want to freaking defend them. People are jerks about them. You've heard it in other videos I've made. All y'all millions have heard of it if you've watched any of them, and really you haven't because I looked at the numbers and I think the only watching is when I go back to look at them and see if they need editing. Um, Women and girls, uh, asexual but also non-binary people, men. Men, oddly enough, are such freaking saps. And we have earned getting picked on, but picking on us doesn't help. And that's going to be the ultimate, I think, final thesis of this thing. Doing damage to people doesn't seem to help. It just makes them more needy. And when people get more needy, they start to do things that you wouldn't think are okay. So, men, we hurt women. We hurt anybody else. We hurt other men. We're constantly hurting them. And then we're reflexively hurting ourselves. We basically cause our own problems because we're the most powerful people in the world, men, and we just because of tradition and stupid, ancient, dumb ass patriarchy from freaking I don't know how many 200,000 years ago. Um, we made up the rules, and now some of us realize that we're making rules that just make life harder on us, make us have more freaking stress hormones flowing us through all the time, to tensing our muscles constantly because we want to be strong, and also we're just freaking scared and stressed. We made up rules that gave men so much power that we cannot handle it. Okay, help us out of here. Somebody get us out of this power trap. Because yes, it hurts women and everyone. Basically, patriarchy is white patriarchy, and it hurts everyone. It really sucks because we have the power, so we don't have enough room to complain. And that's a truth. But nevertheless, we need to equalize the power and get us out of that predicament just as much as get everybody else out of that predicament. Um, okay, I also want to okay, so that's weird because okay, so you recognize that I understand there's a differential, and it sucks to be not a white man compared to being a white man, but we have such a stupidity that it is killing us to be in this position, and we still try to defend it. That's the idiocy. Okay, so I also want to defend the bad racist people. Because why? Because, first of all, I'm just trying to be superior, I bet. Perhaps, maybe, I don't know. And if I say I'm helping the bad racist people become better people and happier people and de-racify them, racistify them, then I am saying that I am some kind of fixer of things. And so, yeah, maybe I'm trying to be self aggrandizing. But also because it's a good strategy, right? You freaking tell these people things and help them understand through things like critical race theory and all these other things, like talking about actual history. And you'll find that people, I don't care how redneck they are or how KKK their family has been, there's going to be one or two there that are like, yeah, I want to be on the better side of humanity and start to take care of people who are currently marginalized. That really, really, really does happen in the home of people who are KKK. Their children don't always follow suit. KKK folks are able to learn. They're exactly human, just like the rest of us. So it's a good strategy to want to do what it takes to get real needs met according to your own judgment, and maybe listening to racists because sometimes they have real personalities and they'll tell you what's lacking in their life. And if you feed people's needs, they're not going to need to get up and do all this stuff. Some of it is still going to take a while to de-educate, which re-education. Okay, so how much time do I have to talk? I gotta hurry here. I got a haircut to get. All right. Because it's a good strategy, and I've been a bad guy myself. I've been a bad guy myself. There are times when I was a little bit too insistent that someone like would want to kiss me. Right? That's not okay. Right? I was a real sort of inferiority complex kid, and when I went out with someone, I always went home feeling bad. Like if I hung out with people, I went home if I didn't have like a good, hey, did you get some story? Like, hey, how'd the party go last night, right? So I felt really begrudged that I was like the last American virgin. Turns out like most of my friends were still virgins. And then again, what's the definition of virgin? Man, I mean, making out's a big deal, right? Mm. So anyway, you guys, I don't know what you're going to think of me after this video. But anyway, I've been a bad guy myself. So that's one reason I care about the bad racist people. I know that I've had racism as a kid and all this stuff. I have to say, I must have racism within me right now, right? Um, but I was ignorant of many things. Like I said, all I knew when I was a kid was when I watched those social justice movies and I watched those protests for rights and all that stuff. I just felt this charge, right? And I wanted to be a part of it. But I was uneducated. And so not only was I stupid, but I had racism in my mind and in my heart. And I don't know that I don't have it now, but I'd like to say I don't out of persecution grievance. I already explained it. I always felt like I was a low person on the totem pole. So I know what it's like to be these bad racist people. Even if I've never had a racist action, thought, or emotion in my body, I would still understand the bad racist people because I always felt like I was like I had like I said, persecution grievance. I was trying to think of the name for that. Persecution. I don't want to say persecution complex or anything like that. That's too social. That's too psychological. I was always the whip, bullied, unsexy, stupid. Right. This brings up why bigotry arises. I think this actually brings up the fact that bigotry comes from a feeling of a lacking, a feeling of being robbed from, needing to make explanations why we don't have what we need. And our explanations can often, most of the time be wrong at first. And if we cling to those, we're going to act on those. So somebody might just think the only way they can get what they want is to steal things, right? So I start stealing things. But a big one is tribalism and bitterness, and it's easy to pick on someone that seems weaker than you. So then you take that person that seems weaker than you, like say people of dark skin in this country, and you say they're getting more than we are, and that gives you the right to in your mind, in your heart, because you really don't know you're brainwashing yourself like this. That gives you the right to take someone weaker and pick on them and beat them down in the false assumption that you're going to get more resources that way. I don't think it works that way in modern world. In the old days, yeah, you go pick on some, you make an excuse to beat up a weaker tribe instead of attack a stronger tribe. Yeah, you're going to get their land, their territory. You'll be able to eat them. Sometimes people used to love to eat people and stuff like that. You probably are loving this video. You think it's okay. So without being able to resolve anything in this video, I just want to ask, like, this is like my what do they call it? Action step, right? Right? You got to give a call to action at the end of everything. No, you don't. But I had to figure out a way to summarize this thing. Without anything else, without being able to resolve anything with this video, uh, in per se as it is, I just want to ask people to find out what drives you to do things, good things and bad things. What drives you to think certain things and certain ways, right? Whether it's something from within causing these drives, what drives you to feel certain ways, right? And then I want you to say, okay, that is a little bit tainted because it can't just be impulses that make me believe certain things, do certain things, say certain things, think certain things, and feel certain things. When we're talking about social justice and inequality and immense suffering that I believe can be resolved over the next decades or centuries, um, even with climate catastrophe happening, sort of, um, you need to think about what works. You need to think strategically, I believe. We all do. We all need to be planning what's going to make the world better for me and for you and for them. Seriously. If you think there's a cabal of weirdos behind the government screwing everybody over, you got to try to understand what their human motivations are. Their human motivations are your human motivations. That's the answer, in my opinion. And then you try to come up with strategies that work to influence people to do different things. How do you feed their needs? How do you find out what their needs are? How do you find out what a billionaire's needs are? If you're lucky, you have some breakfast with one and you can talk to them like you would talk to any friend, and you would want to see what you can give to them, you know? The same with people that you absolutely hate, like KKK folks, or if you hate black folks, you need to start to think, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. They have needs. What am I going to do for them, right? So, and how can you learn to verify what works to create equal happiness? Because that should be the goal. Even if we can't attain it, the goal post, we don't have to reach the entire goalpost. We just have to march toward that goalpost, right? You have to have a goal. So how can we create somewhat equal enough happiness? Maybe we'll get like to this level of happiness, right? I mean, equality. Right now we're at this level, right? Off the charts, off the screen. How can you learn to verify those things? We're talking about pragmatism here. We're talking about specific, measurable, observable, time delimited, whatever it is that makes you be able to graph, write down, add, subtract, multiply, divide, and quantify. How can I say that we have equalized and justicified the planet? And then we got to remember about the other species. We really shouldn't be causing pain to the other species. There's other ways to work with life. So the only things that matter are equal happiness and what works to create that. And I thank you, and my shrimp thank you.